Hello and welcome. If you're new here, my name is Kaylee. I'm a clinical hypnotist and a student and teacher of A Course in Miracles. Today, I'll be going over Chapter 4 of A Course in Miracles, The Root of All Evil. And what I'm really excited to do here is to break down the complex concepts of A Course in Miracles and make them very, very tangible, demonstrating and letting you know how does this actually work in your reality. This chapter is all about the ego, the belief that we could be separate from God, and really points to how that is the only problem that we have. The Course in Miracles says that we think that we have many problems, but we really only have one, which is the insane belief that we could be separate from God. We'll explore that deeply in this chapter. This video specifically is taken from a discussion in my group on school called Heaven on Earth Academy. If you would like to be a part of the larger discussion, getting to engage in conversation, Q&A after this teaching, as well as engage in community and all the embodiment activities and practices that I have provided, feel free to join my community, Heaven on Earth Academy. It is completely and 100% free for the time being while I'm in the building phases of it. I hope to see you on the inside and enjoy today's video. Get ready to dive right in. You guys, this chapter it's a little intense. It's literally called The Root of All Evil. So I'm like, okay, we're getting right down to it. But that's what I love about A Course in Miracles. It's no joke. It's like, all right, let's get straight to the point here. So what I really want to use today's lesson for is getting to know the ego. A Course in Miracles talks about the ego all of the time, right? And before we get into anything, I just want to make a clarification. The way that A Course in Miracles talks about the ego is different than the way that modern psychology discusses the ego. Modern psychology talks about ego as in the ego has separate parts. There are maladaptive behavior parts where maybe you have a maladaptive behavior of self-sabotage, right? And it's because a part of you wants to show up consistently, but a part of you is afraid that what if you do and no one actually cares, right? And then there's adaptive parts of the ego as well. So A Course in Miracles is different in that it identifies the ego in the same way that the Greeks did, where the ego just means the separate self entirely, the self that believes it is separate from all that is. And so when it's talking about the ego versus capital S self, it means the belief that we're separate from the creator versus who we actually are, soul, which is one that is. And so that's why it doesn't like the ego in A Course in Miracles, and it's so much different than in modern psychology. So I think that today is really summed up so well in literally the first paragraph of chapter 4. I'm going to drop everything in the chat too. Again, if you want to be reading the text as I'm speaking it, I'll drop them as we go. I was going to have the specific sections and the numbers, but almost everyone has a different version of A Course in Miracles. It's not as streamlined as the Bible is, so it just makes more sense to send it directly to you guys. Okay. First sentence passage says, "The result of genuine devotion is inspiration. To be egocentric is to be dispirited, but to be self-centered, capital S self-centered, in the right sense is to be inspired, or in the soul. The truly inspired are enlightened and cannot abide in darkness." Okay, I absolutely fell in love. I opened up to chapter 4 and I was like, great. We're getting off to a great start because this is demonstrating what inspiration really means. Everyone's always looking for inspiration, looking to be inspired, looking to be lit up by life. And this clearly defines to be inspired simply means to be in spirit, to remember that you are one with Source. It says the result of genuine devotion is inspiration. Again, so many people are looking for that inspiration, or you hear it all the time of oh, I got a a strike of inspiration, as if it came out of nowhere. And what I really like to define and make clear is like inspiration isn't something that just comes out of nowhere. Inspiration is something that happens when we are devoted to being ourself, when we remember who it is that we really are. It seems like a strike of inspiration because we're in la la land living in our ego for the majority of the time, and then something happens. We have that one conversation, or we're like looking at the stars and we're like, oh wow, I am one with all that is. And then all of a sudden you're inspired and you're like, wow, that's crazy how that happened. But it's this, of course, is saying like, no, that's just how it works. When you are in spirit, you are inspired. Says to be egocentric is to be dispirited. Again, everything we're going to be talking about for the majority of this session is like I really want to get so clear on the ego, and this is already taking us there. To be egocentric is to be dispirited. When we are focused on I, me, what is going to happen when I do this? What are they going to say? What about all those things that I did before? All ego is to be dispirited. I also think of this as like depression. I don't have the energy, the life force, the motivation to do the things that it is that I really want to do. I don't have that spirit within me. Why? Not because I'm terrible or I'm wrong or my life circumstances, simply because I have forgotten who it is that I am, and I'm identified more with my ego than with my spirit. I am dispirited. And then finally it says, the truly inspired are enlightened and cannot abide in darkness. And I just think this is, I love when they throw the little enlightened word in there, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's what can really happen when we just stick to being in spirit. Like the idea of truly existing in this place where we can experience peace, not just sometimes, but all of the time. Because when you are in spirit, you cannot abide in darkness, is just fire me up. So great start to the chapter, even though we're going to get to the root of all evil. Feeling pretty good so far. Okay, so now I want to dive into like what is the ego? This passage right here says, let me drop it in the chat. Says, the ego is afraid of the soul's joy because once you have experienced it, you will withdraw all protection from the ego and become totally without investment in fear. This is the perfect description of why ego deaths feel like absolute death. Is because your ego literally feels like it's being destroyed. It says the ego is afraid of the soul's joy. Why? If I believe that I can have peace in this moment, despite my circumstances, despite how good I am at something or good of a relationship I think that I have or I'm in, despite circumstances, if I can have peace right now, the ego loses its role. It doesn't have a job anymore. Because the entire role of the ego is to tell you, look, you're not happy right now. I can fix it. We got to figure this out. All hands on deck. There's a huge problem right now. I think if we just think about it all the time, eventually we might figure it out. That is what your ego is trying to do. The quote, the slogan, the ego slogan is seek, but do not find. It says, I know that there's a problem here. I think that I can find it. Let me just think about it at all times and be stressed out about it, because that'll be productive. But of course, in Miracles talks about how we have the mind of God. We have a powerful mind, which means that we can make things happen. And so in that moment when we are allowing the ego to take the role of figuring it out, what we're really doing is we are creating that reality. That ego is like, there's a problem, we need to fix it, I need to go deeper, figure out what's wrong. Then our reticular activating system, that part of our subconscious mind that is created to find evidence for our current belief systems, scans our environment and is like, oh, the ego says we have a problem, we got to look for it then. And then all of a sudden you're perpetuating this hell that's going on in your mind. And so if we experience this true joy, our ego would have no more responsibility, would have no more role. And it says, you will withdraw all protection from the ego and become totally without investment in fear. And so if you truly believed that you were safe in this present moment, that you had absolutely everything that you need, all of the sudden, you withdraw the protection from the ego, meaning you don't need to protect that part of you that's like, no, 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 we have a problem. We have a problem. See, look. You don't need to prove that to your ego anymore, which means that you are entirely without investment in fear. You no longer need to fear. Okay, now I want to get like one layer deeper here and like really, I want you guys to really like get so crystal clear on who the ego is so that you can see it so much more clearly in your waking state. You can be like, oh, yep, that's the ego. I can tell because XYZ. Okay, so this quote right here says, the ego is the belief of the mind that it is completely on its own. Okay, the ego is trying to replicate what your soul is really capable of. The ego wants to be like, no, 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 look, we could do anything. Watch, we just have to think about it really hard and critically and all the time. But we could do that too. We can experience that happiness, but only when you get there. Only when you accomplish this, this, and this, then you can experience that happiness that that soul is promising you that you can experience it right now. So it's the belief that the mind is completely on its own, meaning that you have to figure it all out yourself. This is one of like the, I don't know how to say this, telltale signs that this is the ego. If you have to figure something out, if you are confused, if you have this perpetuating, I don't know. But mostly I want to like really lean on here, figure it out. Why? Because the ego believes that you are all alone, that you are the only one that has ever experienced this problem, or only the one that has experienced it to this degree, that no one can actually help you, that there's not really a higher power. Maybe there is, but like not really going to help you in this problem, like the one that you're actually experiencing. Ego wants you to believe that you are entirely alone. Now, what other thing exists in isolation, tries to figure out all on its own, which then creates mass destruction? Does anyone know what I'm getting at? You can drop it in the chat if you do. I'll repeat it, and then if no one can get it, then I'll just say it. But what other thing in life believes that it's entirely on its own, in absolute isolation, believes it has to figure it out all itself, and then in doing so creates absolute mass destruction? Okay. Cat, yeah, literally war. Yes, I was gonna get to that, but what I want to start with is cancer. Cancer cells isolate themselves, and then they're like, "Oh no, I'm all alone. I have to figure this out." And so they replicate like crazy because they have forgotten they're a part of a whole, an entire organism that works synonymously with each other. They have completely forgotten that. And so they're working by themselves, replicating everywhere. Like I imagine the cancer cells being like, oh my God, we have to figure this out. And just like replicating. And now it's so easy to see as humans how we do the same exact thing. And like Kat said, countries, like we believe that we're alone. We believe that no one else is going to help us. We believe that there's scarce, limited resources. We forget that we're entirely, like, just on a human level, we have this beautiful globe, this earth that provides for us way more than we actually need. But what do? We go, I'm alone. There's scarce resources because there's other people out there who are going to take them. And I need to get there first, aka countries starting wars over resources because we've forgotten that we are one organism, that we are one consciousness, that we are one with the creator of all that is. And because we forget that, we create this mass destruction. And so no wonder there's this huge rise in cancer. It's like the more that we isolate ourselves and forget, the more that this is going from like a macro scale to a micro scale. We're seeing it now within ourselves. Yeah, I honestly was like just like mind blown to like really understand the depths of like what the ego is and how it actually affects us on such like a micro and a macro scale. And I think that that understanding of it as a cancer makes it crystal clear. And I want to, again, like, I want to clarify just like one layer deeper here of like how to know it's the ego. Because when we are still, when we are deeply trusting that we are one with source, we're connected to that place, that peace. I'm sure that you guys have experienced this before when maybe you're in a deeply meditative state, or maybe you've just been like really good for a little bit. And all of a sudden these like ideas come to you. This inspiration in spirit, inspiration comes to you out of nowhere. Like where? Obviously it's coming from source, right? And then you're like, oh, like that's crazy. And you just like act on that idea nonchalantly. And then a moment comes where you want inspiration or you want to take action on something and you're like, oh, like where's that inspiration that I had? And so then you become a cancer and you're like, you know what? I'm going to do it myself. I don't need to like feel that goodness again. I could just muster this up and do it myself. I can identify as an ego, as a self, not connected with all that is, not remembering that I inherently have absolutely everything that I need and am everything that I need. And I go, the American way. I can make it happen. I can just hustle my way there. And then what happens? We are not moving from that place of deep connection. So we go, I have to make it work. I have to figure it out. And it becomes this forced feeling, this hustle and grind, and I hope that I get there one day. And then what inevitably happens is you get there and you don't feel fulfilled. You get there and you're like, wow. And your ego goes, oh man, I thought it was going to be here too. That's crazy. It must be over there behind the next one. And you keep going. And this is like the whole hamster wheel effect where you see, I mean, I can only speak for America because this is where I live for, but it's like, this is where I live. I mean, but you know, you hustle and you grind your whole life so that you can retire so that maybe you can have fun. And then you see retired people and they like don't know how to have fun or like how to enjoy their lives. Like peace is literally unattainable because they never experienced it. They've trained their mind that I'll be happy when, and then they get to when and they're not happy. And so they go, well, I'll be happy when then. And same thing, not just like with corporate jobs, but same thing with entrepreneurship. You know, I'll be happy when I'm making this much money. I'll be happy when I've helped this many people. And that is the ego, the I'll be happy when syndrome. I'll be happy when I accomplish this thing. That'll finally give me peace. That's the cancer cell repeating itself so that it can try to heal. And the only way to actually heal the cancer is to remember that's not who you are. That you are the infinite source. And the beautiful thing about this, I'm saying this metaphorically, but I also mean it literally. When I think A Course in Miracles says the body heals when you stop looking at it. And it's like when we're so hyper fixated on the problem, you know, what you focus on expands. Oh my God, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. Creating more of that. Alyssa, I know you know this so well. When we focus on the spirit, who am I really though? It's not that you're ignoring what's happening in your life circumstances, in your body, or you're not ignoring it, but you recognize there's something much bigger here. There is a source that is much bigger than what you're looking at. It's like looking in the mirror and like not liking your face and like trying to wipe off the mirror. That's like when you're looking at your body being like, oh my God, we need to fix this, without recognizing that if you just fix your face here, then all of a sudden the effect changes. The course has one more example. This is I'm just gonna warn you guys here. It's a little bit of a heady paragraph, but that's why we're here. I want to break down this heady stuff so everyone can be like on the same page. What the heck is this saying? I'm gonna read it. So, all right. It says, ideational preoccupations with problems set up to be incapable of solution are also favorite ego devices for impeding the strong-willed from making real learning progress. I'm going to stop there for a second. What the heck did that just say? Okay, what this is getting at is saying that, I really love A Course in Miracles for this reason. It really calls us out straight up. It's saying that the smart people here on earth are wasting their time. Like, there's strong-willed people, and because they get caught up in their ego's being like, we can fix it, we can figure it out, let's solve that problem. Our ego, like even the smartest people will look for a problem that's like not worth solving. It says, the next sentence said, the problems of squaring the circle and carrying pi to infinity are great examples. It's like, okay, like, great, we can do these things. I'm not like against pi or anything like that, but it's just suggesting like, great, like you could do these things, but you have this amazing mind that's neuroplastic and capable of remembering that you are one with all that is, and therefore developing like spiritual sight and powers unbeknownst to what you're really capable of. And you want to swear pi? Like, you really, like, you want to just do the thing to say that you did the thing, right? And it says, this one even better. Oh, this one really hits home. It says, a more recent ego attempt is particularly noteworthy. The idea of preserving the body by suspension, thus giving it the kind of limited immortality which the ego can tolerate, is among the more recent appeals of the mind. Okay, again, I just feel like that. I should just like write like what it means in like normal lingo. I feel like sometimes like you could have just said that people are like wasting time trying to fill their bodies and alter their bodies essentially to appear immortal. So this, again, I really want to like lock this in. The ego tries to do what the soul can do. So the soul knows it's immortal. I am infinite. I'm one with all that is. I don't have a beginning or the end. The ego goes, oh, we could do that too. Watch this. Botox. What about this? You could get lip injections. You could look skinny your whole life. You can make your skin look like this forever. It's talking about preserving the body by suspension, thus giving the illusion of this immortality, which the ego can never actually obtain, but it tries to. Again, seek, but do not find. And I think that we see this so much today. I personally, like, no shit, no shame. Like, to each his own. I don't have any, like, bad judgment towards it, but it is really interesting to me that, so I mean, especially as a woman, I see like so many people are so consumed with what they look like. Everything is about what they look like. They spend all of their money, they spend all of their time worried about what they look like. I'm like, that's like literally the most boring thing about you is what you look like. You are an infinite soul living in this body with the most amazing superpowers, and you're just like in this skin suit for a little, and like, cool, like if you're healthy from the inside, it comes on the outside. What a great representation of how great you're taking care of yourself. But that's not what the ego does. The ego goes, oh man, taking care of yourself, we don't got time for that. We have problems to solve. Let's just do it manually. Let's just change ourselves so that we could look like we take care of ourselves. And then same thing happens though, like taking pi to infinity and the cancer cell, the person gets the job done and then they look at themselves and they go, not good enough. And they get another one and another one and another one. And they never get to the point where they go, wow, I look good. I think I'll just stay like this. Right? It's a never ending cycle. And then finally the last sentence of this says, it is noticeable, however, that in all of these diversionary tactics, the one question which is never asked by those who pursue them is, what for? I'm like, that says it all. Like, what? Like, genuinely, what for? And that's the thing is like, someone might say, because I just want to feel more confident. Or I just want to finally like what I look like, right? And then what for? What for actually? And I think that if we just got super honest with ourselves about any of the things that we think that we want, any of the things that I would say our ego thinks that is necessary in order to accomplish what you really want to accomplish, is what for? I really like applying this question to belief systems too. I personally have gone through a few belief systems in my time, and one of my favorite question is like, what is the outcome of believing this? Not, is this true? Is it historically accurate? Is this correct? Because we're humans. Humans they wrote the texts and the belief systems. And even if it's, channelings or whatever your version of true is, the truth is that a human was involved in that. And so it's a lot less important to ask, where did it come from and is it true? And a lot more important to ask, what for? What's the point of believing in this? Which is why I've come to A Course in Miracles, is I recognize if I truly believe in this, if I truly give myself the opportunity to recognize that I have a neuroplastic brain and I could truly believe that I am one with Source, and in doing so, I become a channel, a vessel of love, and I experience eternal peace. And the outcome of that is that we could potentially live in a heaven on earth, not only in my perception, but as a collective. I'm like, what for? That's a great what for, like the amount of love and peace and fulfillment in my life, but also in the capacity for the entire world, is what for. So I just wanted to dive deep into the ego there, so we really get a good understanding of when it's being loud. Again, I want to add one more time. If you hear, I need to figure it out in your head, that is most likely the ego. And what I've been talking to my clients a lot about recently is, sounds like a joke, but I'm serious. Stop thinking. And I know, like, easier said than done, but genuinely can you guys hear me? Okay. The stream of consciousness that's saying we need to figure it out is a stream of consciousness that's operating at high beta brain frequencies, which means that you are in stress, you are in fear, you are in lack. And there's that famous quote that you cannot solve a problem at the same level that it was formed. You can literally not solve that problem when you are in fear or lack. And so it's not just like stop thinking and like give it up forever. It's giving it up in that moment is literally the most efficient thing that you can do. And giving up in that moment is a miracle, going from fear to love. And there's so many ways you can do that. You can use A Course, you can use affirmations. What I've been really loving recently is like just focusing on my breath, breathing in and out, recognizing and remembering that I'm present. In the moment that you come back to presence, what you do is you train those alpha brainwave states. You train your default mode network, which is that identity center, to downregulate, to remember that you are one, that you are a soul, that the leader of your life is not that identity center, is not the ego, but it is the observer behind it. So, like, obviously the course, the lesson, all of those are so important for all of the same things I just described. But if anyone here is experiencing anxiety, or they notice that little like rant that goes like, oh, I need to figure it out. What if this doesn't work in the way that I want it to? Da, 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 da. I invite you to find your way to stop it. Again, like that could be a deep breath. You could have a mantra, whatever it is that's going to ride you back into the present moment. Find it, like lock it in, because that's unity consciousness. When you train your mind, I've recently done a lot of neuroscience study on this, and it's really exciting to see that the things that we've been hearing about and have been around forever, that there's literal neuroscience to prove what happens. And when you access the present moment, you're stimulating those alpha brain waves, and you're shutting down that default mode network, that identity center. And over time, the more that you do this over and over and over again, what begins to happen is what A Course talks about. Jesus being here demonstrated that we can be in a human body and have the mind of God, which doesn't mean that you become just like poof. I mean, maybe eventually that's what A Course talks about. But as far as us living here now, it means we still have an identity, but our unity consciousness is the leader. That soul identity, I am one with God, leads us. And then that identity center is in the background that goes, oh, God's saying that you should take action on this thing. Okay, I can help you take action. It's that identity center is there's a quote for this too. A faithful servant and a terrible leader. That identity center has led the world to mass destruction and starvation and wars, right? However, it's a great servant. When our soul leads, that's how we get things done. That's how we accomplish things. It's because it has the understanding of what is past and what is future and what needs to get done in order to accomplish said task, which is beautiful that we have it. But the unfortunate thing is that we lead with it primarily, and we are always in critical thinking. What could go wrong? How can we scan the environment to see what's happening, and how do I fix it? And what we create, what we seek for, is what we find. And thus we're creating a society of lack, suffering, guilt, and shame. Okay, enough of this stuff. Let's talk about some good stuff. Okay, I want to get into our true function. All right, now we know how the ego works, but how do we really work? All right, this passage says, his mind shone on you in your creation and brought your mind into being. His mind still shines on you and must shine through you. Your ego cannot prevent him from shining on you, but it can prevent you from letting him shine through you. Okay, I thought of a metaphor to help make this make sense too. So, this is the idea that we are one mind with God. The God being all that is, Son of God being the extension of that love. His mind shines on you and must shine through you. I want you to imagine this is like a sun. God is the sun shining down on us. This unconditional love shines on us, must shine through us. It says your ego cannot prevent him from shining on you, but it can prevent you from letting him shine through you. Okay, what I imagine this is like the sun is going to shine no matter what. Your ego cannot prevent him from shining on you means that the sun is going to come down no matter what. The ego is this protective mechanism that goes, no, I can do it myself. I'll do it my way because my way is better. It's an umbrella. And goes, nope. So the sun is still shining on me, but I'm prevented from letting it shine through me, which means I'm not absorbing the vitamin D, the nutrients, all of the happy feelings that I would get from being in the sunshine. I do not get that because the ego says I would have it my way. And what this looks like tangibly is existing in the present moment, feeling that inner aliveness, that we are one with all that is allowing creation to shine through us. What the ego would do is say, yeah, great and all, but like you really have to figure this thing out. You have plans and you need to go over them at least 10 times in your head before they happen. Otherwise, what if they don't go right? And it's like umbrella. No. Yeah, I know being present sounds like fine and cute and stuff, but we have stuff to do. And it deprives you of the grace, the love, and the miracles of what is existing in the present moment. The present moment being that moment where the divine intersects with what is you. Okay. Now it says, this next passage says, peace. Oh, that was mine. It says, right-mindedness dictates the next step automatically because right perception is uniformly without attack, so that wrong-mindedness is obliterated. I'm going to go through this one by one because this one is honestly, I probably say this about a lot of them, but I'm like, this one's the most important to really understand how simple it is. Okay. Right-mindedness is simply moving from fear to love. It says right-mindedness dictates the next step automatically because right perception is uniformly without attack, so that wrong-mindedness is obliterated. This is taking down the umbrella, right? So this is the stream of consciousness. Oh my God, I have so much to do. What if I don't get it all done? I don't know if I'm going to be able to accomplish that thing that I really want to accomplish. Taking that down. I am willing to see this differently. I recognize I'm thinking a lot about things that could go wrong, and I'm willing to see this differently. That is your only responsibility. The willingness to see it differently. You do not have to. I speak for myself in this, but I imagine some of you guys might do this too. I go, oh man, I'm seeing it wrongly right now. Oh no, like the course wouldn't like this. I have to see, but I need to see this in a better light. And I try to think of like how I could possibly see it in a better light. But then I'm like in my head about like, that I feel like I'm forcing it essentially. And then I'm looking for something that's better than what I'm thinking, but it feels like it also feels wrong and I'm wasting my time essentially. Right-mindedness is simply the willingness to see it differently. Reason being, it says that the next step automatically comes forth because perception is uniformly without attack. Now, this is what I want. I want to give you a real life example of what this is like. I went on a walk a few days ago. I was in my thinkies. I had a case of the thinkies. They were real bad. And I go, okay, I am willing to see this differently. And that part of me was like, but you really got to figure it out. Maybe, okay, think about it with love, but still figure it out. And I was like, no, I'm not falling for that. I am just going to be present. And so I was just present. And I was like, finally let it go. Like, I don't need to figure it out right now. I can just actually set it aside. And I'm just like on my walk. And then I just felt good. And I was like, oh, wow, the trees are beautiful. It's crazy. I couldn't see that when I had my umbrella up and I wasn't willing to see the beauty of the present moment. And then out of nowhere, I had this idea come to me out of nowhere. And it was a great idea. And it actually helped me with the thing that I was trying to solve. And I'm not going to sit here and say like it happens like that every single time because it doesn't. And there's whatever, time is made up anyways. But what I do want to get at is like that next step is automatically there. We think we have to figure it out, but it is there. The miracle is always there. Our only responsibility is to be willing to see it differently, to willing to recognize, man, there's literally a miracle right in front of me and I can't see it because I'm so caught up in like what I think should happen or the belief that I'm the one that has to figure it out myself, right? The next sentence says that the ego cannot survive without judgment and is laid aside accordingly. Oh, get that out of here. This is the umbrella that I'm talking about. Our ego cannot survive without judgment. The moment we go, maybe I don't need to figure it out. Maybe I don't need to judge myself, think that I'm in the wrong place or that they're in the wrong place or that the situation is in the wrong place. What if it was perfect right now? What if there were no judgment? And I take down the umbrella. All of a sudden, the ego cannot survive. It says the mind then only has one direction it can move. The direction which the mind will take is always automatic because it cannot but be dictated by the thought system to which the mind adheres. What a blessing What a blessing. We only have to return to who it is that we actually are. And every single move, every single decision, every single circumstance, every single wound in us, internally, externally, can be healed if we simply return to that place. And the decisions are automatic because we remember that we are one mind, one with all that is. This means peace is your only responsibility. The atonement, forgiving yourself for the insane belief that you could be separate from source. Every single time you're in that moment of, oh my God, this is the one. I know I trusted God for the other ones, but this one, I have to figure this one out myself. I know it. It's simply coming back to that place. I am willing to see this differently. Taking your deep breaths, choosing presence in the way that feels good to you. And maybe that changes every single day. But finding a way to disidentify with that narrative, the thinkies, and coming back home. All right, I have one more here, really diving deep into mission. And we're going to talk about abundance, baby, because I feel like that's like, to sum it all up, that's like the entire world's problem. We just don't believe we have enough, and so we kill each other, and we murder each other, and we hustle, and we grind because we think that we'll never have enough, and this really sums it up nicely. It says, in the ego's language, remember, to have and to be are different, but they are identical to the soul. When I read this, I was mind blown. This was one of the ones that, like, for me, okay? In the ego's language, remember, to have and to be are different. To us, naturally, if I talk about having money and being happy, those are completely, like, we're having two different conversations. Where I'm talking about what I have, and then I'm talking about who I am, who I be. I'm talking about what I want, maybe, or what it is that I currently have. Those are different to the ego mind. It says that they are identical to the soul, because the soul knows that you both have everything and are everything. It says any distinction in this respect is meaningful only when the idea of getting, which implies lack, has already been accepted. So it's saying that the reason that the ego separates the two is because it implies that we don't have it. It says that is why we have made no distinction before between having the kingdom of God and being the kingdom of God. So our entire perception of abundance and lack is rooted in this. We think that we do not have. We think that we could be happy and have different things. And this is saying that if we actually remembered that being and having the kingdom of God are the same, which means when I have the kingdom of God, it means I understand that I have absolutely everything that I need and so much more in order to be happy, be fulfilled, be a full extension, be an extension of love. When I am being the kingdom of God, I am feeling that same feeling of abundance of having, and I'm simply being it. Now, I want to amplify this too, because this pulled me back into, it's funny, guys, I went like a little bit full circle. I was like, I'm a manifestation coach. I teach people manifestation, how to manifest things. And then I was like, no, I'm not. I teach A Course in Miracles, and I teach people that you don't have to manifest anything because you're just being peace. And then I read this and I was like, oh, they're kind of the same thing. Because, hear me out. In manifestation, I used to teach you don't get what you want, you get what you are. And when if you wanted $1 million, if you wanted to grow your business, then what you do is you place yourself in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. What would it feel like right now if you actually had that? And then because you are that, you attract that exactly to you. And now I'm realizing that I'm teaching the same exact thing, but I think on like a way cooler scale, because I'm not just like, here, attract some money. I'm just like, how about this? You don't just create the feeling of the wish fulfilled of $100,000. You step into the feeling of a wish fulfilled of being in the kingdom of heaven now. And then whatever you attract, it matters so much less because you've already created the feeling. It's like, that's the thing about manifestation, is the whole point of it, it's a joke. It's like, you're like, I want that thing, I want that thing. And so you create that feeling, and that's the thing that feels good, is the feeling itself. And then you get the thing and it's like, oh, that's cool. What's the next thing? And I think where you could get lost in manifestation is if you think it's about the thing. But I think that now in hindsight, like, manifestation is a cool tool because it teaches you how to create the feeling of the wish fulfilled, which is exactly what this is. If we create the feeling of the wish fulfilled, if we remember that we are and have the kingdom of God, all of the sudden, I want to just like do a tiny little neuroscience dive on this. What is literally happening on a neurological level? Your reticular activating system is the part of your brain that is constantly scanning your environment for evidence for why your current belief systems are true. If you believe I am not worthy, I don't have enough money, that system scans your environment, looks for evidence, boom, proves to you, that belief solidifies, right? That sucks. Okay, what about this? What if I truly believed that I have the kingdom of God? What if I truly believed that I am the kingdom of God? What does that mean? What does that feel like? What would it feel like if I truly believed that I had everything? And then because you don't get what you want and you get what you are, if I exist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, if I train my mind and my body to feel what it feels like now, to have that, to be that, what do you think happens? I actually don't know. like enlightenment, eternal peace. And also like, I'm so excited for the first time ever because I'm not manifesting specifics. I'm like, God, show me what's good. Like, I imagine that existing in this place, I'm going to be presented with miracles and opportunities and experiences that I could not have even tried to manifest, which is why I believe that this is like the manifestations of all manifestations. Really, really exciting stuff. Okay, almost done here. I just have a few more. I always save the best for last. I save the most fiery ones. These ones really like quantify and make solid like what's your mission? Why is it that you're here? Oh my God, this one fires me up, guys. Okay, says the first coming of Christ is just another name for the creation, for the Christ is the Son of God. The second coming of Christ means nothing more than the end of the ego's rule over part of the minds of men and the healing of the mind. Okay, guys, this one is like so exciting for me because we are in the second coming of Christ. It says that second coming of Christ means nothing more than the end of the ego's rule over part of the minds of men. Right now, okay, I'm gonna do a little mini rant on this. I'm probably gonna go like 5 minutes over, guys, and then we'll dive into discussion after that. If you have to leave, no worries. But I have to share my passion on this one because in studying neuroscience and seeing what's happened in the world, like it's just not me seeing this. There is a rise right now in nervous system regulation. I don't know about you, but it's everywhere, right? Everyone's talking about nervous system regulation. I mean, even talking about subconscious rewiring and hypnosis and manifestation. All of those things are so exciting because all of them do the same thing. They train your mind to go from that high beta identity mind to recognizing and remembering that we are the watcher. We are the observer. And what happens is as a collective consciousness, we are all training our minds right now to move in that direction, meaning we are in the second coming of Christ. And because we are all one consciousness, you doing this, me doing this, us doing this as one mind helps other people do it. So it's not like, well, all 8 billion people on the earth have to do this. No, that's not how it works. We just need to get to a point of critical mass where there is not even a majority. That's the crazy thing about critical mass. We don't even need the majority of us doing this, because as one mind, we are literally training each other's mind for this. And I know in the world, it doesn't look too great right now, but this is also, when the ego is dying, what does it do? Fights back even harder. So I just wanted to add a little bit of inspiration right now of like truly like how cool it is to be in the second coming of Christ. I'm sure maybe it's egotistical of me to think like it's going to happen in our lifetime, but also recognizing how belief systems work. If I believe that this can happen, then my reticular activating system is looking for evidence for how it is happening, thus creating more of it. And we have this opportunity together. I say this all the time, but if you can't choose love over fear for you, choose it for that person in that war-torn country who cannot even access the ability to choose love. And I think when we really remember, like, we're all one is not just some cute metaphor, it's real, then it becomes a lot, not easier, but more simple to make that choice, recognizing that you're not just doing it for yourself, but we're doing it for the second coming of Christ to heal the entire mind. The sentence says, your mission is very simple. You have been chosen to live as to demonstrate that you are not an ego. I repeat that I do not choose God's channels wrongly. That's just a bar. I'll leave it at that. Like, your mission is very simple. You have been chosen to live so as to not demonstrate, or to demonstrate that you are not an ego. I repeat, I do not choose God's channels wrongly. All right. You heard it. You heard it from the Course yourself. You know what the mission is. Okay. Let's see. Okay, this is my last one, and then I want to read a prayer that was at the end of the chapter that feels like it caps it off super nicely. But for anyone who's like, but I don't have a clear mission, or I don't know what it is that I'm supposed to do, or whatever, whatever the limiting beliefs is that the ego rattles off. I think this really clarifies things nicely. It says, the truly helpful are God's miracle workers, whom I direct until we are all united in the joy of the kingdom. I will direct you to wherever you can be truly helpful, and to whoever can follow my guidance through you. And I just want to reiterate here that the Course reiterates several times, like, your ministry is where you're at right now. I think it's really easy for us to think like, oh, if I'm a teacher of A Course in Miracles, or if I'm a miracle worker, I need to be some kind of healer or something that I'm not right now. But that's not what it's getting at all. Becoming a miracle worker is so simple. Simply put, you are choosing love over fear. And in doing so, you see that within another. You see the soul that is within another. You see their highest potential. And because you see that within them, you also remember your own soul. I described this in class the other day, or to a client. I don't totally remember, but something that really makes this, being a miracle worker and remembering your soul really easy. If you're in a moment where you cannot for the life of you come back to that present moment, it feels like the ego is just like full-fledged on a roll. One of the easiest ways for me to return is to bless others. Because when I'm truly blessing another person, like imagining love pouring through them, blessing them, their family, whatever blessing is like to you, when I'm blessing another, what happens is I go, oh my God, yeah, like they're a soul, they're an infinite soul, and they can receive this love. And because A Course says that an idea never leaves its source, meaning because I'm blessing them, that blessing is moving through me, all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm that soul too. And I remember, because I remembered that I'm one with this person. So I just really want to reiterate that your ministry is exactly where it is that you are right now. And that in showing up in love, they are following your guidance. Like, that's all that means. You don't have to be teaching anything. You don't have to be saying anything specifically. You choosing love is you guiding others into the same level of consciousness. Okay, Finally, I have a prayer that I want to read. I want this to just like embed everything in. So, if you guys would like, go ahead and rest your eyes to a close if you feel so comfortable to do so. Otherwise, you can gaze off the tip of your nose. And just before we begin to get into this specifically written prayer in A Course in Miracles, I just want to guide you inwards for a moment. Taking a slow and easy inhale in, an audible exhale, returning to this moment. Finding that inner space within you. Imagining now there's a thread from that inner space into all that is God, Source, Creator. And if for just a moment, not changing your breath, but with every inhale you breathed in that power, and every exhale you relaxed deeper into it. Remembering here and now that you are a soul, that you are the watcher of your thoughts. Your thoughts do not define you. In fact, you have the opportunity to choose your thoughts. And every single time you make that choice to move from fear to love, you reinforce who it is you really are. And we take this beautiful spiraling journey from the head to the heart, where at some point we remember 100% all of the time who it is we really are. I'll read this prayer, allowing these words to embed within you, locking in any inspiration, any takeaways, anything that you are willing to apply in your waking state. You can either repeat it in your head or simply allow the words to land deeply. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent Christ who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Amen. Taking a deep inhale in. Exhaling. Returning to your body. Feeling this light within you. Feeling an excitement to bring any revelation, any excitement, any purity into your waking state. And then slowly and gently opening your eyes. Returning to the space.